All right, we're now joined by Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie has 2 wins this season, and I'm told it's the 10th anniversary of your first Sprint All-Star win. And you're currently tied for all-time in 3 Sprint All-Star wins. So if you were to get 4th, you'd have sole possession of the record. Talk about heading into this weekend, trying to grab that 4th on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm happy to be home. Happy to have the support from Sprint. They've done such an amazing job of supporting our racing series, and then to have this weekend and all that goes on with our All-Star event. It's just really cool, and I'm thankful for what they do for myself and all of us in this room and all of us in the sport. So it's going to be a cool night. They put an extra $1 million up. We'll see if somebody can ring that bell. Format has changed. We'll see how that plays out. Clearly you want to start as close as you can to the front of that final segment and have a shot at winning. So we'll all be trying real hard through each and every segment to get that done. And if I am the lucky one to win and fortunate one to win, I'd be very happy to beat two guys that I've idolized my whole career, Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Sr. on wins in this particular event. So we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll go to Mike.
Mike Embry, Speed.com. As is so often the case in this sport, you're the bad guy who last year foiled the rules and won the first segment and didn't run hard anymore till the end. How does the way they've changed it change how you approach it? And do you think it's realistic that one guy can lead all 5 segments?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. It's not going to be easy. And, last year's format, whoever won that first segment had a free pass for the rest of the night. And if they didn't turn it into a test session, they would have been foolish to not handle things the way we did. And we played the game right, and it paid off, and we left with $1 million check and a cool trophy. And that's our job as teams and drivers, is to figure out how to beat the system. I remember one year Jeff Burton was going to take the checkered on pit road after he finished a pit stop. It's fun to have those opportunities to think like that and to find an advantage that others don't. So some may be upset with the way we won last year. I take great pride in it. We worked the system and did a good job. That's not going to work this year. You've got to run hard, and I think there is a chance. I think that it's a long shot, though. I mean, with the competition that exists in the All-Star race, it's going to be a long shot, but it's worth it, and it'll bring some excitement. And if somebody does ring that bell, it'll be a hell of a party.
Go to Claire and then Kenny.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I wanted to ask you about the format for the All-Star race and whether you really care or think about or have emotion about the format, or whether you just sort of look at it and say, well, we're going to race whatever they give us. And talking about the guys jumping over pit road and how you may stop differently, I'd like to ask about that as well.
The format, I think every team looks at it and says, all right, the $1 million is after that final segment. I need to start as close as I can to the front. How do I do that? And depending on the year, there's different formats from inversions. And when there's an inversion and it's a fan vote, they're going to want to see a big inversion. So there's always a group of guys fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th on the racetrack. They do away with the inversion, or it's a random. And then you got to take a guess at it. But you're assuming the winner of that final segment or whatever it is isn't going to get the pole position. Last year was far different, and we played that game perfectly. So this year's game is go fast. I mean, you have to go fast to have a shot to win this thing, and ideally starting on that front row is key. So that's going to be the game we play, and everybody's going to work real hard to maintain track position and try to win segments. Pit road and no qualifying speed, I remember watching it, and it was exciting just watching it. Now I'm going to be a part of it, and I hope we get a chance to really practice it, because getting off of the banking at that speed and I assume accelerating again to get down pit road and how slick pit road is, it's going to be exciting. I remember watching on television and Gordon came off and slid right to the edge of the grass and was on the throttle and then tried to slow it down, and all of his crew guys, I think Canales might have been on the team too, standing there on the pit wall waiting for the car to come to a stop, and it just blew right on by, 4 or 5 stalls past. So I would assume we'll see a little bit of that tonight. The guys getting real aggressive, trying to get to their pit box.
Go to Reed.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Speaking of the qualifying format, is 15 minutes enough to practice getting on and off pit road, lift points, break points, all that sort of thing, or would you like a little bit more time to to work on that.
I would like some more time. Biggest reason is 20 cars trying to go through that is going to be chaotic, and trying to find a clear opening. You know, if it was 30 minutes, you could kind of wait until things calm down and then get out there and try again. So it's not really, the amount of time is fine. It's just the space that we have to work in is confined with a lot of vehicles. You know, maybe if they let, you know, 3 or 4 guys go at a time over 15 minutes, you could all get 2 or 3 clean attempts and learn a lot more from that than I think a free-for-all like what we're going to have. So the spotters will earn their keep today in that 15-minute practice session, trying to find clean holes so we can get it done.
Okay.
Kenny Beck, WXII 12, NBC up in Greensboro. Is money the only motivation this weekend, or getting another cool trophy and proving maybe some of the people who said you won last year because you won the first segment wrong, or is there more you hope to accomplish in terms of getting another championship this year?
Well, I think there's an order. First and foremost, there's that big check. You know, that's top of the list. And then from there, you work down. And it still is a race against the toughest guys in the field. So a second-place finish, you know, isn't a bad thing and can help for morale right on down through, you know, probably top 5. You can justify it as a good night and you learn something. There are other people that might not consider themselves a favorite and have a shot to win, so they're going to experiment and use this weekend as a test session. Even some of the big teams, I know we always try a thing or two here to see if it will work and if we want to bring it back for the 600. And then the last piece is just laps on a track that we race at with the right tire, with all the competitors here. It just makes the teams better and stronger. So there are a lot of layers to it, but it's just kind of in order, and teams do that. You know, if you win, awesome. If not, you're like, well, okay, you know, we learned this, and right on down the line.
Go to Jim and David.
Jim Noble, ESPN. Knowing that you're not currently involved in a feud or dispute right now, congratulations on that. If you were, would this be the perfect place to exact some sort of retribution or payback because no points on the line, you're not going to totally trash somebody's season if you choose to get even?
No, you know, it really depends. I mean, you know, if somebody harmed you or did you wrong in a points-paying situation, you want to pay them back, you know, fair, you know, in a fair manner, which would be during a points-paying event. So it depends. You know, everybody has their own motivation in the way that they like to handle things. Nobody's going to give each other a lot of slack here. And if you do get caught up in a racing accident, you're more willing to be caught up okay with being caught up in a racing accident here because the points aren't on the line. So it kind of buys you some slack in a few areas, maybe not as much. You can't send a message as strong as you would want to in others. But at the end of the day, when we get pissed in the car, when something happens, you don't think about those things. So if that switch is flipped on whoever it is, it could still happen. You know, there really isn't a clear-cut path or code to it all. But the smart guys, you know, they wouldn't do it here. They're going to wait until points are on the line, and it has the same impact on that guy as it did to them.
David.
David Curvell, NASCAR.com. You know, you look at this situation with Casey and Kyle the last few weeks. I mean, you went through a stretch with Kurt where it seemed like you guys were running into one another every other week. Does that get in your head when you see him on the track, when you've had repeated run-ins with the same guy? And can two guys' driving styles just conflict at the point where they struggle to race one another?
Yeah, and I mean, after talking to both of them, they're both frustrated. I mean, Casey's come out on the losing end of it 3 times and is more frustrated than Kyle, but it's not like Kyle has an issue with him. There's just been stuff, and we've all been through it. I've had it with Kurt. I've had it with Sterling Marlin in like 03, 04, and it's really no fun when it happens, and you're kind of have a magnet for whatever car it is, and it goes on. And the way that I've been able to break the cycle is you just consciously have to get away. Because after one wreck and it wasn't on purpose, you're like, okay, you know, no big deal. Second one happens, you're like, oh man, I really didn't mean to do it. And then if it goes to the third time, you're like, okay, if I see you coming, I'm getting the hell out of the way. You go by, I'll go over here, and you just have to try to make it stop that way.
Go to Alan, Tom, and then Nate.
Alan Cavana, NASCAR.com. In terms of aggression, a race like this, do you notice anything different with how drivers race a race like this?
Yeah, you're not going to point a guy by if he's faster, especially with the average finish of each segment counting towards the final starting order. There will be no pointing guys by and working with one another. It'll be door to door, and you're going to have to, do a slide job or something to clear somebody and get by. So that part will pick up. But, if you're racing for 10th, it's going to be a little different than if you're racing for the lead. You don't want to tear up cars and running half a track behind for 10th or something just doesn't make a lot of sense. But track position will be very important, and it will encourage more side-by-side, more hard racing.
Tom?
Hi, Jimmy. Tom Jensen, Speed.com. Looking at the points now, you have a huge points lead, 44 over Edwards, 59 over Kenseth. Yet the Joe Gibbs racing cars have been consistently faster than the Hendrick cars for most of the season. What do you look at more and take away? The fact that you have this big lead, or are you concerned that they're so much faster than you guys in recent weeks?
Yeah, they definitely have some speed on the mile-and-a-half tracks. I feel like our short track stuff has been real good. Our plate stuff has been awesome. And we've got some mile tracks coming up that, Dover's really good to us, and I hope to run well there. But if I was to pick an area we need to improve on, would be the mile-and-a-halves. And we're not bad. We're still getting good finishes, but we don't have that magic right now. I'm very happy to have this big points lead and would love to lock early, as you can imagine. But I don't know if I'm just making this up for my own good and help my cause, but I'm glad I'm not peaking now. We always point that out about a team that gets on a roll. Are they peaking too early? Not saying those guys are, but I'm glad we don't have our best stuff right now, and we've got some time to get there, and hopefully we do.
All right, we'll finish up with Nate.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Jimmy, I know there wasn't a lot of overlap between your career and Dick Trickle's, but I also know you lived in Milwaukee for a while. I didn't know if you knew much about the man or had any thoughts about his death.
Yeah, shocked and saddened by it. I didn't race a lot against Dick. His stories were legendary through the ASA and short track racing that I did up in the Midwest. Raced a little bit against him in the Nationwide Series. And then where I got to know him the best was racing in the IROC Series. And those practice days were so laid back and relaxed. And with Dave Marcus and Dick being there, we'd all hang out and talk about cars, hop in your car, run a little bit, leave the track for lunch, run down to a little spot to eat, and come back. And those are the memories that I really have in getting to know Dick and spending time with him. Certainly don't know the whole story and what's gone on, but just saddened to hear that he took his life. And my thoughts and prayers are out for his family and the loved ones that are behind,
All right, Jimmy, thanks for the time. Good luck today in qualifying and tomorrow in the sprint all race.
Thank you.